And it is this tremendous pressure which constitutes the framework or parameters of our cellular containment, our present reality index being directly related to the counter pressure we exert, which delineates the thresholds of our awareness. So, what happens? When we are dealing with the pressurization of third density being a pressurization, third density or the third dimension is a certain type of pressure that the organized entity itself must live under. And I've always told you about the fact that if you're a deep sea diver, you can't jump in the water and go down 20 fathoms without the proper suit, because the pressure will kill you. So in that, you now, under third density pressure, need the proper equipment. So this body is essentially a pressurized unit. And as a pressurized unit, depending upon your consciousness, you inside are exerting a counter pressure in order for that threshold to exist. Check? Check. So the soul now creates a magnetic, electric, gravitational index that pushes against the third density to create the outline that you call your physical frame. So now here you are, a pressurized unit, and if you just do this with your hands, real quick, don't slap nobody. Do you feel that resistance there? You are living under 16,000 pounds per square inch of pressure. Not yet. 16,000 pounds per square inch of pressure. It ain't no problem to breathe in. Your problem is breathing out. So you are a pressurized unit, and you have to understand, how are you to escape the present pressure threshold? You have to keep it synchronized because it keeps shutting off? Yeah, okay. How are you to basically keep your body in the present state that it's in, but now to refine it to such a level where you can now escape the pressure and create a whole new body threshold? Whoa. What is that, and what is the density, or where must our minds be operating for us to now think about creating a whole new shell based on a whole new pressure threshold of consciousness? I know, he says, well, damn, how's that going to feed me? Oh, you'll be surprised. Just wait. How many more minutes, brother? So, every so often, like those of us gathered here today, a tiny grain of sand. Now, you remember I told you, we are solidified inside of a mental shell. Check? But every so often, like those of you gathered here today, a tiny grain of sand slips into our shell and becomes lodged within the delicate membranes of the conscious and subconscious mind. A very little tiny grain of sand, like that gets lodged in the oyster. What happens? One tiny grain of knowledge that begins to irritate and agitate the higher self within the hardened mental shell. And this tiny grain begins to burrow ever deeper into the core of your very being. And with that, I'm going to say, shut down for a minute. Take a deep breath, everybody. We're switching tape. And so, once that grain of knowledge becomes wedged inside of our deeper consciousness, suddenly something inside of you begins to force a change in your behavior. A change from the fixed perceptions of the synthetic mental shell, from the pain, hatred, fear, and suffering, to a new awareness within, to a pearl of consciousness representing a meta-somatic awakening created out of the irritating grain of knowledge that made you so uncomfortable with your present reality construct. You see, if what I'm saying does not make you uncomfortable, then you are not going to move forward with what is, what can I say, your immediate potential. Inside of you, there is this grain of knowledge. All you need to do to take it to the next phase is to make that irritation create the pearl. Don't let your irritation and your pissed off state, don't let that be used with all kind of anger. Contain it, control it, and then use it as a weapon. And so from this point forward, I wish to engage your metasomatic attention with a series of questions pertaining to consciousness liberation and the highest order, transcending the present organizational programming of the atoms, molecules, DNA, and the cells, to move or shift our present species consciousness index to an entirely new form and into an entirely unique consciousness paradigm. And so I ask the assembled souls gathered here today to carefully consider the following questions. I'm going to ask them first, and then once I do it again, we're going to see what you have to say. First, if every cell in the body right now is being created from a mental programming based in fear, lust, pain, anger, lack, trauma, greed, and false appetite, how do we recalibrate that programming which presently orients the atoms and the molecules of our cells to conform? 2. Is the characterization of a species actually the definition of a consciousness time lock? Let me say that again. Is the characterization of a species actually the definition of a consciousness time lock? A conditioning of space wherein a specific gravitational agreement of the atoms causes them to organize around a morphogenetic template of intent and purpose, which creates in turn an outer shell, an outer body shell specific to that agreement? What the hell did he just say? Well, I'm going to repeat it. Is the characterization of a species actually the definition of a consciousness time lock? We locked in time, brothers and sisters. You believe time exists because the physical body needs that comfort. But is that time lock nothing more than a conditioning of space, wherein a specific gravitational agreement of the atoms causes them to organize around a morphogenetic template? Now, the morphogenetic field, I told you, is the form-holding field. It's like your aura, but it keeps the pressure balanced between the outer pressure of third density and the inner pressure of your consciousness and its threshold of understanding. So that pressure of consciousness being against the third density pressure creates a morphogenetic field that holds this template in place. Your physical body has a form-holding field called the morphogenetic field. So thus, is it a conditioning of space wherein a specific gravitational agreement of the atoms uses them to organize around a morphogenetic template of intent and purpose, which creates in turn an outer body shell specific to that agreement? Remember, everything that you are is based upon an agreement that you believe that you are. Okay, I gave this example to you before. If something was to fly in here, what would be the first thing you would say was in here? Huh? Really? A bird. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? Really, you look up in the sky and you see this beautiful creature, the first thing you think, bird. But is it a bird? Or is it the agreement that you made to call it a bird? See, you already locked yourself in. If you cannot observe an experience without putting a judgment and a name on it, then you cannot escape. Because your reality is based upon the conglomeration of your definitions of it and how your mind reacts to those definitions. If you don't delete what you believe to be real, then what is real will never be revealed. No. No. You need to delete what you believe to be real so that what is real is revealed. Understand that your reality is based upon how you have constructed a semantic wall around yourself and in yourself.